Recording?
Yep.
Okay, so we're calling this meeting to order at 4:01. We're here for the purpose of hearing an update on the Milo Creek Watershed District. You just heard the introductions real quickly there, and so we'll turn it over to the attorney to give us some good information.
Great, thank you so very much. I appreciate this opportunity very much to visit with you on this for the Watershed Improvement District. Yesterday, I sent to Madam Secretary copies of the documents that I was going to refer to with regard to kind of bringing you up to speed on where we are with the district and where we were and where we are now. So I would like to, if possible, I'll give you a clue when we can pull up the documents. And the purpose for meeting from the district's perspective is to request that the commissioners consider authorizing Milo to collect their unpaid assessments by placing them on the tax rolls of the county, and this is pursuant to Idaho Code Section 423714. And I'll bring that up. I got a copy of that statute for you. So I've got a bunch of documents here, and they're broken down in three categories: historical organizational documents, communications between the district and primarily with council, first with Judge Oxendine, and then afterwards with Ben Allen, your attorney. And then finally, the last documents I have are related to the assessments that have not been collected and are unpaid, and we would be making the request to have those placed on the tax rolls. Could you call up number one, please? I'm going to go through these documents rather quickly. Again, I wanted to make sure you had a flavor for the district and how it was organized. If you recall, back in 1997 in May, there was a pretty horrendous flood down Milo Creek, and that was the impetus for creating the Watershed Improvement District. I didn't live here. I was in St. Mary's. We had our own little flood incident down there at the time. So, but everybody had problems that year with high water. The first document is a certificate of organization that was delivered to the district. This was presented and prepared by the state of Idaho. This comes from the Secretary of State's office, and the organizational document indicates that the date of organization was the 31st of March, 1998. Number two, please. Number two is a resolution from the county. This was prepared in, let's see, March of 1990. I'm sorry. March of 1998. There was some emergency disaster funds were made available to the county in order to assist with cleanup and restructuring of the Milo Creek area and to put in the flood control apparatus and construction. And this is a resolution of the county to hold those funds in order to provide them to Milo Creek for doing that work. And again, that was ordered by resolution of the county commissioners. Number three, I'm going to skip. This is just the. This was a certificate from the State Soil Conservation Service, which is the entity that had to authorize creation of the Milo Creek Watershed Improvement District. It was part of the original certificate of organization that we received from the Secretary of State's office. Could you go to number four, please? Number four is the resolution from the State Soil Conservation Service. And this relates back to the creation of the district. There was a referendum passed for the qualified residents within the district boundaries. This indicates that the vote was a majority were in favor of creation of the district. And this was a document that the Soil Conservation Service provided in order to set up and make sure that the district was something that was, people in that area wanted to create. Number 5, please. Following creation of the district, and this is sometime afterwards, the county, there was a number of leases created, easements created for the district. Those went to the county originally, but eventually in 2008, they were transferred over to Milo Creek Watershed Improvement District. This was the assignment of those leases, which was recorded here in Shelby County. Number 6 is, I'm sorry, number 6, please. Number 6 is several pages of information concerning how the assessment was created. The first page is a fact sheet that was disseminated to all the residents within the Watershed Improvement District, indicating that the district was going to put up for vote whether or not to provide for an assessment not to exceed 0.06% of the assessed values of the properties, and that the vote was going to take place on November 7th of 2000. So this is a couple years after creation of the district. Page 2 were meeting minutes discussing that vote. This is in October of 2000. And if you go to page 4, I'd like to give you a better rendition of the vote count, but this is all we have. And this is the only thing I could find both with the district and also with the county. But this was the vote for the creation of the district. And it was broken down into 2 cities, Kellogg and Wardner. And you can see it was a majority vote passage in each of the two cities. So let me see. Yeah, those are the historical documents. So the district was created back in 1998 and has been in existence since that point in time. I'll get into some of the other information communications with myself and the council, but it's always been there. It's always been in existence since that point in time. And the board of directors has, regularly met, conducted meetings, done the work that they're supposed to be doing with respect to the district. Number 7, please. This is part of the enabling statutes for creation of watershed improvement districts. And this is Idaho Code Section 42-3708. I highlighted the provision that talks about the district is authorized to levy and cause to be collected assessments on real property, like I said, 0.06% on the assessed value of the property. Could you go to the next slide, number 8? Number 8 is Idaho Code Section 42-3714. The wording of the language that is highlighted indicates that the district shall notify the county of its unpaid assessments, and the county shall enter the same on the tax rolls of the county against the designated lands together with the amounts of said assessments. So there's a mechanism for doing this under statute. It's not, we're not just trying to do it. There's a path forward for doing it. I want to skip to number 15, please. This is more for reference for you more than anything else. But there's two things here. Number 15, the first section is Idaho Code Section 6745-450B, and this has to do with audited financial statements for public entities. And I represent a lot of small entities, Milo Creek, Calder Water and Sewer District, a lot of entities of that size. There's a requirement if you generate annual expenditures over a certain amount, you have to have audited financial statements. County always does, cities always, because the revenues are going to be, expenditures are going to be above that amount. Small districts such as Milo Creek, if you look at section, I think it's highlighted, I gotta find it here. Oh, yeah, it's not the highlight section, but it's at the end of this section, and that's subsection A. The last full sentence says, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Fourth line up starts in the middle. In the event that annual expenditures in the current year do not exceed $150,000 following year, which the annual biennial audit is completed, local government entity has no minimum audit requirements. And we don't have 150,000 expenditures. So I know that the district has talked about audits in the past. Have we done any in the recent years?
Yes, since I've been there.
Yeah, and the guidance I've received from the state tax commission for other entities is, if you fall into this category, it's up to you if you want to do it. So there was a question one time about whether or not, the quote books of the district had been audited. There's no requirement to do that for the size of an entity. And then the last portion of this are the enabling statutes for watershed improvement districts. It's actually irrigation and drainage and districts. And then chapter 37 is watershed improvement districts. I just added this in here for, so you'd have the information available to you in case you want to go through that. So,
Okay.
Can we go back to number 9, please? This is kind of where we started communicating, or where the district started communicating with the county about a collection of assessments. This is minutes of proceedings before the county commissioners, I believe, and I'm not sure, but I believe that it was, if it's book 2020-05-13, I'm going to guess that was probably May of 2020. I don't know, because I couldn't find a date on the document. Oh, yeah, no, I couldn't find a date on it. But this was discussion between Mr. Gardapi and the commissioners about placing the assessments on the tax rolls for the county. Evidently, that was something that was considered by the commissioners and voted to approve in the case that the motion was carried. So that was before my time. I'm just filling in on the historical information. There was one time a question about, and I'll get into a little bit more detail, but there was a question about whether or not the district was actually duly recognized and created by statute. And one of the things that Director Gardapi advised the commission at this point in time was, yes, it had been. We went back and created historical documents so we could prove we had it set up the way we were supposed to do that. This was for 2020 assessments, by the way, I think. Yes, 2020 assessment. Yeah. You have,
No,
oh,
okay, sorry.
could you go to 10, please? When I first started visiting with Judge Oxendine, she asked me to see if I could get some information on the creation of the Watershed Improvement District, and I did. I contacted the State Tax Commission that had one of their administrators write a letter to me, which I delivered to the commissioners and to Judge Oxendine, indicating that the district was a duly organized, recognized watershed improvement district under Idaho law. So there's information available, at the State Tax Commission on creation of the district. They recognize that they have a current map, which is, come to find out, and I know Ben's probably dealt with this before, but when you go to annex territories into a taxing district, the easy part is doing the work here. Hard part is getting it past the State Tax Commission, because you got to make sure that their maps match up, or they won't add the property to the tax rules. For instance, like right now, we're experiencing a lot of growth in Benewah County. Folks want to get annexed into fire protection districts. Well, the easy part is getting the commissioners to do the resolution. Hard part is getting the tax commission to accept whatever. And that's why it was very important we got this letter saying, yeah, we got it. You know where you are. So could you go to number 11, please? This is just an email communications between myself and Judge Oxendine at the time. We talked about, the fact that I wanted to make sure that we had created, that the district was duly organized under Idaho law. We talked about several communications, but this was basically the communication between the two of us. And she advised that, yeah, I understand, where you are, and I think we're going to be okay. So, number 12, please. In November of 2021, we met with, at the time, the Shoshone County Commissioners. Judge Ox and I was also at the meeting. Ben was at the meeting, so was Jolene, and so was Director Gardaby. We discussed what we had found. And if you go to page 2, at the bottom, I've highlighted some information here about the vote on the particular matter that was before the commission at the time. We had made the request to, if you go to page 3, I'm sorry, to certify the past 3 years delinquent charges to the county tax rolls. There was a vote taken, and it was passed by the commissioners at the meeting. And that was, like I said, in November of 2021. Could you go to 13, please? And I don't know, I don't know what happened, but in September of 2022, there was a resolution that was, could you go to the second page, please? There was a resolution from the commissioners with respect to putting the delinquent assessments on the tax rolls. I understood that it was passed, but subsequently was for whatever reason, Ben and I've had a conversation, was done by mistake. Doesn't really matter. That's kind of where we were at that point in time. So we thought, okay, we're okay. I did also include, in fact, could you go to 13A, please? This is a series of documents that I received from the county with regard to subsequent proceedings. If you go down to the 5th page, that's it. In October of 2022, the district received a letter, and this was from the treasurer's office, about what information was necessary in order to place the delinquent assessments on the tax documents. There was some confusion about what was required. We tried to comply. It doesn't really matter. It's where we are. So we did make an effort to get that information to the treasurer's office. For whatever reason, just didn't get done that year. So we're still in the same boat. We still have these assessments, and we'd like to get them paid because we don't have a lot of dough, and this means a lot to the district. So, either page or number 14, please. And without getting into a lot of detail, this is what we have. This is what Jolene prepared. We have, I think what she originally sent were the parcel numbers, customer name, classification. I don't think she had the addresses. Is that correct?
They were sent on time without the physical address.
Okay.
So they were in on time, but then they sent them back.
Okay. This is what we have. I mean, we're happy to send you whatever you need. We just want to get it. We just want to get it, on the tax rolls, so we can get the delinquent assessments on the tax rolls. If you need additional information, we can dig it up and find it. But this is what Jolene's prepared, and this is for period 2019 through 2021, correct?
Yes, that's what was approved.
So those totals, the total is all 3 years on the
Yes.
bar column
Yeah.
G.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But with the,
So will you have
The
22s
fees.
prepared to go in this year?
I won't
too?
have 22s until the end of June because that's when the bills are due. And then in July, I prepare it and it'll be in by August 1st for 22.
I got a question, and I don't know the answer to this. Maybe Ben does. So we'd like to go back to 2019, but if you got 2019 assessment and you're delinquent, is that gonna trigger a sale of the property? I don't know the answer to that. Because you only go back 3 years before you know, before you,
But if they paid their 2019s by July the 25th, wouldn't that?
Bonnie is actually probably in a position to maybe speak to that, because I know she's had a lot of discussions with Carrie.
I'm
about
wondering if
this.
they can do it back that way.
More than 3 years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because that would throw it into being delinquent and, I mean,
But would that just start the process of the tax sale? Because obviously that's a
It
lengthy
started,
process.
after the full 3 years,
Mhm.
beginning of the 4th year. So if they do, yeah,
after the 4th year, or
they start it after after you are delinquent 3 full years.
okay.
So year 4 triggers the tax sale process.
Yeah, so 19 would trigger, yeah, we'd be delinquent 4 full years at the end of 22, you know, with this statement.
So that, I thought that only applied to property taxes. Or is it all liens on a property?
I don't know about all means.
Probably something that's in Carrie's wheelhouse.
So that,
I work closely with Carrie as well, so.
Yeah, I mean, we'd just like to get, we'd like to get whatever we can, basically,
Yeah.
but if we can't go that far back, fine, but if we can, we'd like to get the assessments, you know, put on the tax rolls.
Is that included on this amount here? That's,
No.
22 is
22
not,
there
this is
yet.
19 through 21.
so 19 is on this one.
Correct.
Okay.
And this list is what was sent back to me denied, was this list right here. Because when Carrie called me and said that I needed the physical addresses, I was a day away of going to Portugal. So I told her that I would have it that next week. And so I did have it that week, and then the commissioner denied it and sent everything back to me.
Mhm.
that's a little hard, because it have partial numbers on there, that showing?
Yeah. That's what was kind of confusing to me, because it was the parcel numbers, the name, and then the balance and the fees and the total. I didn't have the physical address on there.
Not every parcel has a physical.
Well, it has like the bare land and stuff I had on it, but not the property address. So I don't understand what your question was, I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to make sure, you had partial numbers associated with everyone.
Correct,
That's what.
yes, everything was with the parcel
Okay,
number.
that's parcel numbers.
That's what I kind of thought too. But that, like I said, she sent them back to me to get the addresses.
And I don't have anything else. You know, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on kind of where we are in the process, what we've done in the past, what, you know, what we would like the commissioners to, you know, approve and help the district collect on those assessments, because, you know, like I said, their revenues are not that significant, and they need the money because not if, but when the creek blows out the next time, we want to make sure we're at least covering the chart, you know.
So we're talking about a couple $1,000s.
If you go to the end, or did you put the whole list on there?
Yeah.
So if you scroll all the way down, you'll see
Oh.
the total.
That's $13,000. Okay. I was just seeing the first page going.
That's a total of all 3 years at the.
Correct.
589.
1921. So,
If we can go back to 2019, so.
There was a question also about, raised at one of the commissioners meetings about, well, you know, we don't know what the, you know, the costs are, or we don't know where, you know, this isn't based on like a fee. You know, you have enterprise funds for fees, for instance, a municipality for sewer, water, maybe electricity, depends on, you know, garbage collection, whatever. It's not fee-based, it's assessed, not tax, it's assessment based. So it's like any other taxing entity. The county has a, you know, a maximum, a city would have a maximum, that, and that's all, it's the same assessment we did back in whenever, so. That's what it's based on.
How do we
First
answer the
time you've
question
had
about
to
how far back we can
roll
go?
all the delinquents on.
No,
You've
I've
done
been with Milo Creek since 14, 15.
So you've done it in the past.
Mhm. And then when I went in to put 19 in, and this is when all this started, and then they came through 21. So,
And I was just coming in and since then, this is what I've been studying to come up to par, so.
yeah. And so I'm getting ready to do 22, but I mean, it's a lot of work to put this together. So we just want to make sure what we can do before, you know.
My suggestion would be to likely have our treasurer reach out to the tax commission and or her other contacts to identify procedurally what the system does and doesn't allow them to do. Because as we found oftentimes in the world of taxes, there are overlapping codes, none of which give you actual direction, but when you actually identify the procedures of our state tax commission, you recognize that certain things can or can't be effectuated. And so I will probably start there for identifying whether or not we can certify back to 2019 at this juncture. And going back and looking through the notes of my predecessor, I see that this topic was also discussed at the November 2021 meeting. We were having the same discussion at that point, so not a new question that we've needed to answer, but just one that hasn't been answered yet, so.
Okay. Well, I think I support the idea of getting this taken care of and getting it done. I think we do want to find out what the law says, how far back we can go. My suggestion would be that we table this specifically to ask the treasurer to reach out to the tax commission and get us the answer on how far back we're allowed to go. And then as soon as we get that information, then we come back together and act on this.
I'll push for as soon as we can get that.
And that hopefully that's in the next week or so, kind of a short process instead of just dragging this thing on and on.
So that will also allow us to continue on like we have in the past years of putting every year on the tax rolls, correct? I mean, the question now is just because we want to go back.
It's the going back.
Is it going back, but going forward after this, they will be accepted is kind of my question as well.
Yeah.
It
I think
would be
that
brought before us
question's
each
already
year.
been decided for you by the previous board through
think
their
we-
motions.
I think we've
So,
agreed to do that in the future or in the past. It's been agreed already.
It's just a matter of working out the logistics. I know that when this information came through, toward the end of the summer last year, there's some confusion on what exactly the concerns were of the BOCC at that point in time. One of the concerns that I know was brought up or raised is not being able to differentiate or parse out how these numbers were reached or for what years. It sounds like we've got that clarity now. It's a combination of all three is what we're seeing here. But that's just one example of questions that the VOCC had at that point that they felt like without sufficient answers, they couldn't sign off on the resolution. So they certainly have given an indication through their prior motions that they would approve the certification of the tax rolls of those delinquencies. Direction was given for legal counsel to work together on drafting that resolution, which has been done for a long time. Obviously, at this juncture, I think we may need to update the resolution now to more accurately reflect where we're at this point. But the resolution may read that the delinquencies being certified are going to go back to 2019, or if we can't go back that far, it may be at 2020 at this point.
So would it?
Do we have a legal description of the boundaries of the Milo site?
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yes,
That was approved by the.
Yeah, that's something.
yes, that's part of the,
It's this right here.
yeah, it's part of the,
Then the annexation border.
yeah, it's,
Our office.
It's on the certificate of organization attached. It's also the certificate is little contribution.
I can forward
So
copies.
has this one
We've
been
got it all
recorded
on
with the state?
Yeah.
the email too,
Right.
so we'll forward it.
Commission?
Okay.
Yes, that's
Would it-
part of that letter
would
that
it-
they sent
would
to
it
us.
be-
That was,
Productive to put
uh,
everything except for 2019 and probably 2022, so we didn't miss the window.
I know that it really doesn't include at this juncture.
Okay.
Because the certification of the tax rolls happens on the state's timeline, so.
Okay.
so let me see if I understand though. We have a resolution or we have some direction from the previous 10 commissioners that we can move forward with the current tax assessment.
Those were the motions that were made on the record at the past meetings. When I went back and reviewed those
Okay.
meeting minutes, those motions were made and approved by the VOCC to certify to the delinquency subject to the presentment of a resolution and associated documents. Obviously,
Oh, I thought that was for the 3
Yeah.
years. Okay.
the resolution was presented. And then the VOCC at the end of the summer had issues with that resolution and didn't ultimately approve signing of that resolution, so. The question of whether or not the county has the authority to certify delinquencies is willing to certify those of Milo Creek has been decided. The VOCC has taken action on that and said, yes, we will, subject to us receiving everything we think is appropriate, and that's really where we're stuck at this point, so.
Is there anything that you think you're gonna need other than what's in that? Is that info?
Nope, and I, previously when I, in my studies too, and talked to Carrie, has everything satisfactory to what she needs.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of, we'll check with the tax commission and see how soon we can.
I think we just
It
need to hear
answers.
from the tax commission on how far back we can go.
Okay,
And then I think we can get this thing solved and move on.
and I can work with them, and we can get a proposed resolution.
So I can go ahead and prepare
Keep
22.
going, yeah.
I can go ahead and work on that. Right?
Mhm.
Just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify.
I think we're all on the same page there.
Okay.
So at this point, I think I'd like to entertain a motion that we table this for the purpose of having our treasurer contact the state tax commission and help us determine how far back we can go. And at that time, as soon as we get that information, we'll reconvene and act. That makes sense.
Yes. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board? All right. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Hi.
Motion carries. So we will get on it. We'll get with Carrie. She may have to reach out to you if we don't have, if she has further questions, but I think she knows what we're after.
Mhm.
And then, and if the assessor's office comes up with anything else we need to think about, please let me know. And we will get on this as fast as we can, get the state tax commission to respond. It shouldn't be that hard.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
If we do reconvene, I'm trying to save my folks some dough. Would you mind if I appear by Zoom?
No,
Oh.
that's fine.
Great, appreciate it.
We're in the 21st century when the internet works.
Well,
Yeah.
we are too when the string and the tin cans work between here and St.
Yeah,
Peter's.
you gotta keep
Yeah.
it tight. Remember to keep it tight. So,
And
no.
thank you all very much for this.
Mhm.
Yes, thank
Get
you.
this taken care of.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
meeting adjourned.
Thank you.